Hey everybody, today's video is from the attic in my parents' house, and they've got a little apartment up here. So I may look a little bit different, but it's still me. Um, Today's video is about what to do when you have a lull. And by lull, I mean a time in your career when you are either transitioning jobs, or when your company has lost business, or when you have a period of time where your deliverables may not be as clear. So I've had several points over my career where I've had these lulls. Some of them are because of circumstances of the job. Some of them are because of circumstances of the customer. But I don't think anybody in their career ever goes just completely all systems go the entire time that they work. I don't think that really happens to anybody. Now, if you work in a startup or you work in a very small company, sometimes you will be incredibly busy almost all of the time. But there will be periods of time where things start to feel slow. And in a startup world or in a smaller company, that might make you incredibly nervous. But in a larger company, people oftentimes don't feel like there's any sense of urgency, and they just sort of take the pause and don't really do anything. I would encourage those people that are at the larger companies to consider why the smaller companies and startups might feel a little bit more anxious when they are in these periods of time. And you probably should be anxious too. At the end of the day, a company is there to make money. That's what companies do. And the cycle of engineering to creating a product to selling that product is a little bit shorter for some businesses and a little bit longer for others. So it's important that you understand what that cycle looks like for your own company so that you know when there's a lull period, how long that's going to last. And you can get a kind of good vibe based on the kind of business that you're in. If you are in a B2C business where your end customer is purchasing something and you get revenue very quickly and it is pretty instantaneous and you get feedback very quickly about whether or not that product is succeeding, you're not going to have very long lull periods at all. It might just be a couple days. In a business like mine, where the life cycle of a deal might take years, sometimes, usually it's more like months, but sometimes years, those lull periods could end up being a quarter. So there are many activities that engineers will put off to the side and not work on, except for when there's lull periods. And while I'd love to be able to tell you that you should really be focusing on those things all the time, the reality is there are only 24 hours in a day, and you end up being a better engineer by managing your time appropriately and sleeping. You want to sleep 8 hours a night. If there's literally only one thing that you take from this video, it should be you should sleep 8 hours a night. But the reality is that we oftentimes only get to those items that we want, that we really need to be doing, but put off to the side when there's a lull period. So you should be keeping an eye on some of the things that you may be ignoring and to take the opportunity during these brief lull times to do them. So one of them, item number one, is a brag sheet. What's a brag sheet? Well, a brag sheet is essentially a list of all of your accomplishments and the kinds of work that you've been doing that are above and beyond the job expectations. So that would be things like mentoring people, or doing projects that save the company significant money, or scenarios where you've avoided risk. So just as when you're selling into a business, the 4 ways that you can sell to them are increase revenue, reduce cost, lower their risk, and make them faster to market. Those are the 4. That's it. That's all there are. The same is true internally. So if you have activities that fulfill any of those 4 criteria, write them down, put them on a list, make a brag sheet. And it's literally just a Google Doc or Excel document, what was I thinking of? Word, right? I mean, you could do it as a spreadsheet format too. You could do Excel or a Google Sheet or whatever your LibreOffice, whatever your thing of choice is, and write down the date and the accomplishment and put those things in there. You may have to go back through your calendar. This is something that I do. I'll go back through my work calendar when I have one of these lull periods and look at specific meetings or workshops or events that I was involved in, and then add those to the brag sheet and double check and make sure that I have the timing right. When it comes time for you to get promoted or it comes time for you to negotiate for a raise, those items are things that you need to have with you at that meeting, whether it is a virtual meeting that you are logged into and you have it open in a separate panel, or it's on your laptop when you go into your manager's office or whatever the case may be. So brag sheet is number one. Number two, the second thing you need to do is get your certifications or trainings that your company may require or may be optional, get those out of the way then. So that could be things like internal certifications. Like at larger companies, oftentimes you'll have internal certifications about the products that you sell. It could be external things like getting an AWS certification if your product works in the cloud, or getting an Azure certification if you work with Microsoft, or it could be getting the Claude certifications for AI integrations. Whatever the integration points are for your product or your service that you offer or sell, you want to know what those things are, and you want to get good at them, not only because you want to understand those tools, but because those certifications can open up opportunities for you to network outside of your company and exert influence outside of your own circle. So one of the things that is unsaid in the world of pre-sales or being a CTO or just like technical influence in general is that you get paid more when you have a more outsized influence. So you should always be doing activities that can lead you towards having an influence outside of your own team, whether it is inside of your company or outside of your company. And once you get up to the higher levels like principal or senior principal, distinguished engineer, CTO, those roles are always given to people who have influence outside of their company in either an industry or in a developer community. There are also roles like vice presidents of development relations, at some companies. Like I have a buddy of mine who is in that role, and he's constantly out giving talks at like every AI conference that I can imagine. And it's because he has built over the years this very large network of people and has managed to make his way into that role and then leverage that existing community in order to evangelize and make himself known. So these things are very important. The third thing that you should be doing during this period of time is you should be evaluating your strategy for how to work well with other teams, whether that is teams that are adjacent to you, or in my case, I'm working a lot with sales teams, right? So this is the time that I would pick to go have one-on-ones with individual teams that I cover and ask detailed questions. This is the time where I would put together suggestions for their account plans. So if you're like I'm in a specialist role, so I don't do account planning, but I make suggestions for the teams that do account planning and give them ideas on things that they can start working on, ways that they can sell more into their business. That makes me more well liked in these other teams that I work with. If you're in what we would call an account role, you could do this the other direction for specialist teams. So if you work for a company that has, say, 3 products and you sell those 3 products, well, maybe you want to start having conversations with some of the special experts that are in each of those product families so that you can get to know those people a little bit better, and you can get feedback from them on ways that you can articulate the value of their specific product. The more you can make yourself known across your company and around the business, the better chance you'll have of being qualified for a promotion. Because guess what? One of the requirements often in this promotion process is to have references, and this is how you build references. So hopefully those 3 pieces of advice, those 3 different categories of activities will help you come up with plenty to do during those lull periods, and they will help you bolster your career as you get ramped back up into a more busy time. It will make the network necessary to make that busy time valuable more important to you. All right, if you want some more tips and tricks, feel free to subscribe. If you have any comments about any of the content, the things that you do during a lull period when you have a little bit less to do, let me know.